To start with, just a quick snapshot on what we are covering today in this 30 minutes. So first, we very briefly about strategy consultancy and Ernst and Young. Then we take it a little bit more in depth on the KPI management, and then I will share with you the study case in one of the telecommunication companies here in Saudi Arabia. So even though Ernst and Young have been in business for 130 years, strategy for many, many years, but in this region for only 3 years. So as you can see the numbers, more than 1,000 people in strategy only out of 200,000 people. Absolutely, the MENA is lacking behind the Americas, the Pacific, as well as the European EMEA, 462 strategy professionals. This is our credential in strategy, even though we are known as auditor, but it's not the case. It used to be the case many, many years back. This is our global credential, and this is our MENA credentials, some of them, not all of them, of course. To move quickly on the KPIs, where we need to put the KPI. My favorite place is really to find a big problem and put a KPI on top of it. And not necessarily an objective. Of course, it is very important to put an objective, but big problem need attention, and KPI are there to serve you, Mr. CEO, C-suite. So we can improve by putting KPI on the quality, on the process, savings, safety, staff satisfaction, customer service, resource utilization. So we need to improve all these areas, or we can reduce time, cost, error, inventory, space, waste, and efforts. So to go back to the model that we introduced not too long ago in Europe, of course, we have been introduced to the type of KPIs in many different ways through my colleague in the industry, Palladium, as well as Dr. I think 3M did it 2 days back. We have many different types of KPIs. We have the lagging and the leading, the strategic, operational, effectiveness versus efficiency KPIs, qualitative versus quantitative, short-term, long-term, financial, non-financial, project-based, business-based, output and outcome. This is mainly for government we're using. So now, I remember the old time when we used to help GSEC, or the Executive Council of Abu Dhabi. This is the central government. The first snapshot that I did for the 500 KPIs for the 50 government entities, only 5% of all their KPIs were based on efficiency. So when you start something up, of course, you're gonna spend a lot of attention on making sure you're effective in launching it. How much cost it's gonna cost you, or maybe it's not that urgent, especially in the GCC in the golden times where the barrel of oil was $120, right? So it was not the focus. Of course, now it is a focus. The cost per bed per night, the cost per seat in every school, and so forth. So you will see it. I'm just giving you an example how organization move the mix. Of course, you need all of these. I'm not debating that we need one versus the other. We need most of them. But the mix is what I'm talking about. The mix of the type of the KPIs. This is what I was talking about here. So little by little, you begin to see more over the time period, more your KPI are moving to the efficiency, moving to the leading more, to the operational more. We used to talk about satisfaction and all these things. Now we move it more to the quantitative. Number talk. Emotion doesn't. Sometimes you have to convert them to numbers anyways. So now we focus more on long term. When in the early times, in the 90s, Kaplan and Norton, of course, the focus was on financial, and the majority of the big corporations, financial talk, money talk. But eventually, like my colleagues today say, we have to focus mainly as well on people. So you will find a lot of non-financial KPIs. So this is called organization indicator maturity model. I published this one 1 year ago in one of the publications in Europe. Okay. The problem in the strategy is cascading. We ought a lot of respect to Kaplan and Norton for introducing and to carry this very powerful tool, Balanced Scorecard, from the academic to the industry. They used to be called different perspectives. They used to call science, languages, social studies, physical studies, and educational institution for hundreds of years. They have been used this scorecard. I used to have one when I used to be in school, right? So he migrated this very successful, solid scorecard to the industry, right? But when you get to cascading, I have to share with you my experience with Honda of Canada Manufacturing for 8 years in performance and strategy. We used to produce 2,000 cars per day, 3 plants. And from the Japanese, I learned this. We're still using scorecard, but the cascading is purely Japanese. It was developed by the Toyota back in the 1960s, right? Unfortunately, the Japanese, they don't share like the European and the American share their thoughts. You don't find Japanese going and say, this is what I have successfully, but it was successful. How? So you have the top scorecard. This is called the stairs. The Coca-Cola and Procter & Gamble, they call it OGSM. If you go to LinkedIn, there is 1,000 people inside this group called OGSM. We call it stairs. It's like strategy, top-down alignment, and rolling steps. This is the corporate corporate scorecard. The one in level 2 is much bigger. It's like A3 page. This scorecard is actually 2 scorecards. One scorecard coming from top to bottom, exactly as it was approved and signed. Then the level 2 people will spend a lot of energy and effort to align to their manager. In this case, this is the C-suite. So they will align. So this one objective here could be 2 objectives here and maybe more KPIs here and the target. When this is finished and signed, then it goes back to the 3rd level. Here we're talking about HR division. Could be. And then this becomes the left side, and they will come and work on the left side. After you finish this exercise, we will be issuing something called Strategy 3. Strategy 3. On one page, the CEO, and where I worked in a couple of organizations, I put it on a A0. A0 is like 2 meter versus 1 meter. This is the whole strategy with 3 levels, and usually sits behind the CEO. And every single time you need to understand who is really contributing to his goal and the KPI and why he's not moving. He will refer back to the plan. And the reporting side of it was exactly on the same form. So he knows, this is where I am, and this is where everybody is contributing to my KPIs and targets. And he will begin to cascade up and down and understanding, really. Seeing is believing. What we are seeing here is really a glasses on the alignment. I asked a couple people yesterday and say, do you have an idea how your boss scorecard looks like? The majority of the feedback that I had, I said, not really. It was only draft when I look at it, and things are changing and changed so many times. So how are you planning? Yeah. So this is the powerful of the Japanese made. And sorry, my Palladium colleagues, I did not mean to compete with you here. But when you get to Abdulrahman is a friend of mine. But really, when you get to cascading, we are complementing the scorecard, and the scorecard is still there. These are 4 perspectives, by the way. We still owe it to Dr. Kaplan, and I was one of the first people worldwide who took his certification. I am a believer in him as well. So this is example of the KPIs and how the revenue could split down to the targets and so forth, right? Let's go to the case study. We planned to bid for a big job in Saudi Arabia. Telecommunication, 17,000 people, and we need to give everybody from bottom to top, 17 people, his set of KPIs. Not only this, but he has to be convinced. As a consultant, it was a nightmare. Imagine that you have to convince and they agree with thousands and thousands of people. Otherwise, we will not be off the hook. Which means for us is like continuous drain. By the way, we finished this project in 5 months period. On time, on budget. 17,000 people. This is how we did it. Main delivery. 2,180 scorecard. Even though we started with KPI, but we end up doing the objectives, which was very essential to do the KPI properly. 330 directors, 750 section manager, 1,100 title covered, 16,000 people, 30 job family, 18 sectors. 27,200 KPI were co-developed, see the co here? Co-developed, co-documented, co-verified twice, and sold to owner throughout the project. Yeah. By the way, we have only 10 people on this project from our side. 50,000 pages were produced for KPI report, draft 1, draft 2, final. In addition to this, trying to get the buy-in on the process, and the process when you're moving, it was very hard. This is how we did it. We had 44 workshops delivered. The majority of them were in Riyadh, but we also went for Jawf and Jeddah and so forth. So we trained 1,350. I was the lucky one who trained 1,000 of these. 45 workshops. I'm still having a pain in my voice till today, after I finished for 1 month. Yeah? So 1,350 certificates were produced, and 88% on average rating for the approximate 1,000 people were very happy with our delivery, 8,000 support sheet, KPI sheets, and so forth. Okay? So what I'm trying to say here, within this 5 months period, we did we split them into, first we did the job family, the HR side, and then we did the directors, and then we drilled it down to the section manager. And in these workshops, who do you think began to write in his own hand the KPI? Ernst and Young? No. The pen belongs to the customer. If you touch it, you're in trouble. This is what we figure out. As a consultant, we promise ourselves, we're not gonna think on their behalf, we're not gonna act on their behalf, and we're not gonna talk on their behalf. They're gonna do all the stuff. So, in this, and then we did the staff training, and then we delivered. It's a little bit complicated, and my apologies for this, maybe you're not seeing it, but I will walk you through how we did it. First, we did a lot of data analysis. Where are these people in the kingdom? Where are their levels? How are we gonna, we are going to slice and dice sectors. You're sitting, for example, in one sector, but the person next to you, maybe in Jawf, have nothing to do with that sector because all his background is HR, right? So your KPI are different than his. So we did all this analysis and we came up with one plan, and we already issued the plan for all the workshops, 45 or so. Then we began to work on the logistics, because here we are involving thousands of people. Workshop execution, 3 stages, and I will tell you a little bit more about this one. Inside the workshop, we gave them, empower them with the right KPIs on their table. So if you have an HR person, we said, this is what could be used, but it's your choice, this is your plan, and this is your sheet. We have a big A3 sheet. And after we train them for whole day, at the end of the day, you say, now you have everything fresh in your mind, go and do it. And on average, we have like 4 or 5 consultants sitting there watching and supporting. If anybody have questions, they're there. The result was impressive. I will say 50% of the work that the consultant is supposed to do is already done. We gave them the fish rod. We did not give them the fish. Big difference. So when we left the first workshop, we have a stack of paper with pencil written on it by the people. We took this one to our back office and we began to put them doing 3 things. We did not include the KPI that they were not good. We completed the one that they are good, and then we added KPI that are missing. And sometime we did the translation on the way. So if they wrote in Arabic, no problem. Now we have people are translating and they're putting all these KPIs where. The most important decision that I made on this project was everything has to be centralized in one file. We chose Access database. From this Access database, we built the tree, we built the structure of the organization, and we began to produce reports. We produce also certificates for people. There's a nice certificate called Ernst and Young. We already have all the names, report is done, run, print, 17,000 done. It was very beautiful to see that not too much work. As long as you have everything centralized in this Access database. Palladium, please keep in mind that if you're gonna use this process, you're gonna owe us big time. Promise. Okay. We'll talk about this one later, Abdurrahman. So just kidding. So this is the one that they filled the first time. We produced the first draft. We sent it back to them. And then we said, now you are the judge. Are you happy with our first draft? He began to say, okay, so they took this one away, but it's really looking good. Yes, I approve, but please add these 2 KPIs because they are very in depth in my heart. I have been doing them for like 10 years. I need to see them there. Fine. Draft 2, same thing. Go back, draft, run. And when we run here, we press a button on Access database. That's it. We make the changes, run again, and then the final draft was also given to these 1,000 of people, came back and said, we are happy now. The project manager on their end, he was a secretary. So the only thing he was doing is like pass it from our side to them, pass it from them to us, and so forth. Right? So let's go to the training. So we have 4 different types of trainings. 15 for the job family, 8 for the directors, and then section managers, as well as the staff. We use technology here because we have so many of them. We used WebEx over the internet. Okay, this is how we did it. First, we give them a big dose of KPI knowledge. First, maybe 3, 4, 5 hours, big dose. Second dose was when they came and applied everything on their own, writing the first draft of the KPI, and then we summarized, right? So this is where the cheese, this is where the buy-in, this is where we are capturing the terminology used inside this organization. As a consultant, we don't know what terminology we're gonna use inside this section somewhere. We can always say best practice, here you go. And later on, sorry consultant, refused. Right? Because we did not really have the energy or the resource to go and say, instead of this terminology, we have to use this one. He already made this inside, built in inside when he wrote everything, right? The surprise workshop that I will never forget was in Sakaka. We are going there not knowing what to expect, on the border of Jordan, and here it is, the best crowd was waiting for us for a surprise. Jeddah, disaster. With all my due respect to people from Jeddah, right? No contribution, no interest. Meanwhile, in Sakaka, if they want to eat the paper, they were probably did it. Commitment, appreciation.
First time recognized, being aligned.
Could be. So this is the sheet that we gave them. Said we collected thousands and thousands of sheets. Sometimes there's 2 lines on it. Sometimes somebody said, you know what? I have 3 sheets. Would you accept them? Of course. This is your own baby. How can we cannot accept them? Okay, so they tick, and this is the objective, this is the perspective. They have 5 perspectives. KPI, definition, calculation, data source, target, just to give you a flavor. I have to admit that we stay away from this KPI bomb. We did not like dealing with the target. Target is a very dangerous place to be in consultancy, because you get stuck between the manager and his associate. He doesn't like it, it's too high, and then you go there, maybe it's not accepted, and so forth. So what we will say, we will build for you a target where you think it's fair. Yeah? Very good. So this is how we bypass this cycle of agreeing on targets. And then the unit, the frequency, and then direction. Up is increases better or decreases better? Who can give me example of increases better KPI? Profit. Decreases better? Cost. Exactly. This is an example of the first draft when we send it to everybody. Typed. Okay, so he began to say, okay, this is the perspective, this is the, and so forth. This is his name, this is the email. Buy-in was on the process. Yeah. This is the sheet when we finished it, and this is when it migrated to Access database, and we produced a very nice report. Tens and thousands of pages were produced. Tens of thousands of pages were produced. For example, department, sector, and then directorate, right? So this is the perspective and the objective and all these things. Before I move on, after we finish this one, we begin to receive a lot of interest in Arabic. I said, can you translate all this to Arabic? He said, of course we can. Here we're talking about close to 28,000 KPIs. Belongs and from and to the people, from and to the employees. They did it themselves. I said, how come we can't? So we translated everything. But when we finished, we did not give them the Arabic version and separately, because we knew when you give them separately, to align them, it's going to be a nightmare. So what we did, we integrated the Arabic KPIs inside Access database on the same line. So the table inside Access database has version English, version Arabic, version English, version Arabic. When we produce the report at the end, so they can sit down with their manager to talk about the real targets, it was very easy. So now they're putting on a SharePoint, and every single person will go and say, this is my library, I created this. As a consultant, we felt we accomplished the job, and then they gave us a lot of good feedback, celebration with the CEO, signed certificate of appreciation from the CEO, and so forth. So this was done between last year, November time, all the way up to last month, March. So I thank you very much. I hope this KPI high dose project helped you to at least understand what you can do in your own organization. I still have 2 minutes, Dr. Amran? Okay, I will maintain my promise to not to exceed my time. We're going to be there inside the exhibition. You can reach us, you can talk to me, and also my colleague from Ernst and Young. Also, I have 2 hats today. I'm an author as well as director for. This is my contribution to the body of knowledge. One of them is my favorite book, which is KPI Mega Library. Please have a chance to open it inside the exhibition. There's 3 sample books you can see. If you would like a free book, please put your business card inside the bag. There's Crown Plaza bag. We're making promotion for Crown Plaza as well. And then we're gonna do the draw at the end of the day. If you would like to purchase this book, Jarir has this book as well in all his branches, in addition to 35 different countries, as well as Amazon.com. So, unfortunately, it's in English. But we are thinking about, here I'm putting the hat of the author, probably Arabizing this one soon, which is going to be a challenging translating all the technical words. But I thank you very much for this great opportunity, and I would like to take any questions if you have. We have 5 minutes for this, Dr. Amran. Yes? Please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rachad. This was another interesting presentation.
Thank you.
As you might know, we in Plato as well, we've done a lot of projects around not only designing the strategic framework when you build the strategy map, objectives, and the KPIs, but also implementing this. This has quite been a very interesting experience here for us, especially in Saudi Arabia. This has been the request we get from our prospects and clients in GCC, mainly from Saudi Arabia, to help them implement the strategy, do the measurement, get to the first report, read the first report, meaning...
It's not easy. I totally understand where you're coming from.
But exactly. This is what I wanted to... this is the background I wanted to give you so we can ask you if we have done many projects of design of this and implementation around the XPP methodology created by the founders of our company, the XPP. Is there a number, the right number of KPIs? I have my own version of the answer, but I wanted to check with you from your experience and your client space. Have you had any situation where clients wanted too many KPIs, but obviously they will not manage the implementation, or that's from one side? Was there the right set of KPIs for them? Have you helped them implement and make it to strategy?
Sure.
And especially about the number of KPIs, because this
Absolutely.
is something that in every industry role that they work with us, they would think that we have to give them at least 100 KPIs around different areas of the business, and this is the struggle that we usually face with them. You have to measure what you need to know, not everything.
Got it. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Abdurrahman, for this question. For every manager, we're talking about probably 10 KPI, plus minus. Could be 7, could be 15, but not really more than this. For every objective, you're talking about 2 or 3 KPIs. But the challenge is to choose which one. We recommend to find your 5 big problems to begin with, and put a few KPIs, and then probably another 5 for the objectives, and here you go, you have enough. If you put 30 and 40, you get defocused. And here, I think Palladium shared this focus organization. It really applies also on the manager as well as the person. We, as a consultant, confess that we confuse things. Would you agree to that? We complicate things. Would you agree to that? Yes. You're shaking your hand. You owe it to yourself not to do our mistakes. Sometime, sorry, I'm not talking about your behalf. I'm talking about our own sometime staff in Ernst and Young. Sometime complexity project value, which is false. Simplicity simplicity project value, especially when you get to execution, because you can execute a simple plan and very, very fast and very easy, right? So I have been a consultant only for 2-3 years, but I'm trying to change things around, okay? It will take time. So to answer your question, the person knows his area and his problem more than us. The person inside the organization. So what we can do, we can really empower him to tell us what his big issues are. Yeah? So this is actually to answer your question. Any other questions before we leave, please?
What size of company you apply and how much for the cost?
I cannot disclose the cost, but I can tell you they got a bargain. They negotiated this for many times, but they got a bargain.
No, just an idea.
Sorry?
Just an idea, but if somebody wants to apply similar.
It depends on the organization. This is 17,000 employees organization. Okay, so this is was very big. If you have a 1,000 organization, the cost can be much less, right? Approximately, without really having a commitment. I'm not on video, correct? Or I am? Okay, so approximately could be for every 1,000 people. You're talking about probably a million dirham, million real, okay? And when you go down, it's not gonna go too much less because there is something called the overhead, right? So you still have to have the team regardless of, but maybe the time could be, instead of 5 months, could be 3 months, yeah? Thank you for that. Ernst and Young is not cheap. I can guarantee you this, but you get quality. It's not cheap. You're cheaper, I know that.
Thank you, Dr. Rachad, very much.
You're welcome.
Now, working KPIs is a very challenging stage, but the actual collection of KPIs, I have notes from my experience, it's far more challenging. So how do you manage an SDC to do the actual data collection and maintenance of so many KPIs?
Thank you very much, Dr. Triam, for this question. It was not an easy. So sometime when somebody go and write his own page in 1 hour, and he has a pencil, sometimes you don't even understand what he wrote, right? Sometimes he meant something, but you end up capturing another thing. Despite all this, when we send the draft 1 to him, and also another form for changes or recommended to change, so we get back his feedback first time. I did not mean this, but I mean that. Okay, very good. Of course, it was not automatic where we just we study it, we say, okay, that does make sense, right? So based on this 3 cycles, draft 1, send back, and then twice, until the final one, we had this confidence in our heart that he have more than enough to feedback what he wants with our expertise and benchmark built in. Here we're talking about common KPIs as well. So we decided common KPI for OPEX. All manager have to have it, and so forth. Yeah?
I meant the actual data collection of the measurements. The measurements.
Okay, this is done after the project is done. So what we did, we empowered them with the right KPI and a simple target. After we left, and probably throughout this 1 month or 2, the manager are sitting down with their own people, and both were involved, and they're putting that target. After a few months, because it's automated and because everything is one file, one database, it will be very easy, Dr. 3M, to go and put the actual as well and produce this report with plan versus actual and variance right there in SharePoint environment, access-based, simple. My recommendation is do not automate right away. Do not automate right away. Wait until you have the data, the cultural change, because when we did the 45 workshop, we really changed the culture. You're really training them, telling them how important things are. And we did this one while having fun. So who took with me yesterday the 45 minutes, and you realize there is like a couple of games in the island and all this thing. This is what we did there, yeah?